Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. I'm excited for my guest today. Guess who I'm going to talk to?
Who's that?
Dr. Peter Ward, going to be talking about climate change. And it's interesting because it's not what you think. When he first sent over the info, they were talking about climate change, and I was like, oh, I don't want to get on this topic. When you start talking about climate change, people get upset because it's become so political. He's saying politics has nothing to do with it. So it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to chatting with him. It'll be later in the program, so be sure to tune in. Did you know that Canada is the largest importer of American cars? I didn't know that.
I did not.
Yeah, that's who has our closest neighbor and also the biggest buyer, importer anyway, of American cars. That's kind of cool. And take a listen to this. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie. A tiny purple microbe that has been dormant for 120,000 years deep beneath glacial ice has been brought back to life in a science lab, and it doesn't plan on taking over the world, we hope, but it is actually harmless to humans. But they found this microbe that had been dead for 120,000 years, and they brought it back to life.
Huh.
It's kind of interesting stuff. Fascinating. The day and age we live in, anything can happen.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Some special stuff to talk about. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
I thought you'd never ask. It's Friday, July the 29th. I can't believe it. We're almost done with this month.
I know.
I mean, this weekend is the end. Army Chaplain Corps Anniversary Day today. Garfield is happy. Today is Lasagna Day. I like lasagna. It is also National Chicken Wings Day. Oh, wow, you could celebrate with both of those. That'd be pretty darn good. National Lipstick Day today. National Talk in an Elevator Day. It is Rain Day today. And System Administrator Appreciation Day. So if you're the system administrator, we appreciate you today. Go have some lasagna and chicken wings. You'll feel better. And then put on some lipstick. It's all the stuff. I'm trying to squeeze it in. And you could talk to somebody while you're in the elevator. See, we got it all. There you go. Anyway, thank you for celebrating any of those with us today on this Friday, the 29th day of July.
John and Heidi.
Email marketing is affordable and a proven way to grow your business if it's done right. You can stay in contact with your customers to let them know when you have new things to offer. You stay in control the whole time too. You decide when the messages are sent and you decide what is being said. So you're constantly in control of your business image. You can do this, but don't try it on your own. Team up with one of the biggest names in email marketing, Constant Contact. Sign up for a free trial right now at radiosavings.com. Sign up now at radiosavings.com.
You know it's true because you
heard it on the radio.
Heidi's going to say it with me now. Thank you. Only because I pointed at her.
I knew it was my cue.
I thought maybe you fell asleep over there. Authorities in Danville, Kentucky say a woman drove through a Dairy Queen drive-thru, ordered $2.12 worth of food, and then paid with a bill clearly marked "more legal tender to preserve the U.S. Constitution," and the denomination was $200.
Oh, my goodness.
If the idea of a $200 bill isn't enough to make you think, there might be something wrong, well, a fake bill there was also taped together. And it featured President George W. Bush smirking from a portrait in the portrait section. The Treasury seal was marked with the right to bear arms, and it said this bill gives credit to Ronald Reagan as political mentor and Bush's father and campaign advisor and mentor. On the back, the traditional White House scene is there, but there's an oil well pumping oil in the yard. There were yard signs planted in the foreground saying, "We like broccoli," and "Rooms not for rent." And here's the scariest part. The clerk at the Dairy Queen took the bill and gave her $197 back.
Oh, my God.
Authorities say whoever passed the bill won't be charged with counterfeiting, but they will face other charges. And the young lady that accepted that in Danville, Kentucky, somebody needs to sit her down and explain to her, that's not real money.
How is it that they are not charged with counterfeiting?
I have no clue. I think that it's because it was a joke, but I don't know.
But still, she passed it off and accepted the change.
She did indeed. Now, there's a rule. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but have you ever heard the phrase, "I'm just joshing you"?
Yes.
There was a guy that was taking nickels back in the day when there were gold $5 pieces that were the same size as a silver nickel that was 5 cents. He would buy something for 5 cents and give them a gold-plated nickel, and they would give him $4.95 back in change. But he never once bought anything worth more than a nickel, and they said it's not illegal to gold-plate a nickel. And the guy's name was Josh, and that's where the phrase "just joshing you" came from. So, maybe they've changed the rules since then. I don't know. All I know is, it's true because you heard it on the radio.
John and Heidi.
The John and Heidi Show is brought to you in part by the Keystone Treatment Center.
This is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs. We share silly stories here on the program, but addiction is no joke. If you or someone you know suffers with an addiction to drugs or alcohol, make today the day you seek help.
Call toll-free 844-204-1055.
That's a toll-free number. Again,
844-204-1055.
And this is your brain on drugs. Police in, where is this? Camden, Arkansas, charged Terrence Forte with sleeping it off in the drive-thru of a McDonald's.
Oh,
Employees of the fast food place in Camden, Arkansas became concerned when Forte was kind of slow to pick up his order. And then they called the police and say they found him catching some Z's behind the wheel. According to a police report, he was asleep inside the car with the engine running and his foot on the brake.
Oh, boy.
Police say Forte's blood alcohol level was more than twice the legal limit. He was busted for driving while intoxicated. So instead of waking him up, they called the police? What would you have done?
They probably tried to wake him up.
No, I don't know.
And they probably also thought, hey, if he does wake up, he's going to,
cause more damage to people. So
right.
I guess that's probably the right thing to do.
Because he would jolt awake, and then his foot would come off of the brake, and who knows what he'd run into.
Yeah, that's very true. It's just kind of crazy to me that happened. And I believe we've got another McDonald's story coming your way. So this one, kids, it's true because I goof that up all the time, don't I? You know that this is what happens when your brain is on drugs. There we go. And my brain is just not working.
John and Heidi.
Now your moment of duh. Have you ever wondered why we never have a loss of stupid criminal stories? It's easy because there's a lot of dumb criminals out there.
Just a lot of dumb people in general.
For example, the story of 2 Cincinnati, Ohio men who allegedly jumped into a woman's car to steal her money. Unfortunately, she only had $8, so what do? Well, you can't just steal $8, right? They'd be laughingstock. So these geniuses decided they'd let the woman leave the car and walk into a grocery store so she could cash a check and bring her some more money. Didn't even occur to them that maybe while she was in there, she might tell somebody that there's 2 jerks in my car trying to rob me. That's what she did. She called the police. The 2 robbers, they'd be way too smart to stick around, right? No, they were still sitting there. And they are the laughingstock. So there you go. It doesn't take a genius to know that was a bad idea.
Yeah, very
But
bad
I don't
idea.
think either of these men are going to be on the Mensa list anytime
I don't think so
soon.
either.
Coming up, we do have your scoop of the day. That is on the way.
The Scoop of the Day is brought to you by Wells Blue Bunny. If you want delicious ice cream, be sure to look for the Blue Bunny. Sure to have your favorite flavors. Learn more at bluebunny.com.
Now, your scoop of the day. We are sneaking right up on the Olympics. Heidi, are you excited about the Olympics?
Not at all, but I never, ever have been.
I know. When I was a kid, I remember there were some exciting moments at the Olympics. For some reason, I remember...
The only time I ever watched it was that whole Tanya Harding debacle. I thought that was fascinating.
You were fascinated
That was
with
hilarious.
Oh,
I was like,
hilarious?
Holy,
that was terrible.
It was hilarious.
Oh.
I'm seriously getting that worked up. It's a game.
Yeah.
So
well, I understand that.
Funny.
Well, I remember Mary Lou Retton when I was a kid, and I don't remember what it was about her that America just loved her. Remember that?
I remember I remember her being on Wheaties, but I didn't ever watch her do anything.
Well, for those of you who are into the Olympics, they're going to be starting up here. They actually have, I think they've already started some of the stuff, but this next week is kind of like the big week. Anyway, the team is heading to Rio with pillows from home, blackout curtains, and eye masks and earplugs so they can get some sleep. The U.S. Olympic team is already gone. Swim team took off. So a man knows he's off to jail, and he has another beer. A man in Australia who crashed his car into a sleeping couple's bedroom.
Oh, no.
Knew that he was going to be arrested, so he cracked open another beer after freeing himself from the crumpled sedan and declared, I'm going to have another before I'm off to jail for sure. So he knew.
You might as well. He knew he was going anyway.
I really shouldn't laugh because it's not funny that he did that. I just think it's kind of funny that he's
calm the nerves a bit.
Here's what I'm going to do. Sharknado 4.
Okay.
The trailer reveals the fate of Tara Reid's character. First of all, did we really need a Sharknado 4?
Apparently. I mean, honestly, a lot of people watch those things.
It's funny, but I just don't get it. In a twist for the upcoming Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens, that's what they call theirs.
Funny.
Sci-Fi let viewers vote on the fate of Tara Reid's character, who was last seen with a piece of space shuttle wreckage hurtling toward her before the screen cut to black. Instead of making fans wait for the July 31st premiere, which is this weekend, I believe, Sci-Fi released a trailer that answered the question. Spoiler alert, she's alive. So I'm really proud of the viewers for voting her to live. That's nice. And if you want to see that video, it's at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Census figures show that a near record level of U.S. counties are dying. That is, they're experiencing more deaths per year in their county than births per year in their county. About 1 in 4 counties, or roughly 760, are fading away. So there are a lot of people who are leaving the smaller counties and moving to the bigger counties, and that's causing quite a problem in a lot of the smaller counties. In Florida, a guy spotted what he thought was a nice car to break into as he was walking to get into it. A man with a dog walked up. Not just any man and not just any dog. It was the owner of the car, and it was an officer and a canine partner.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he did.
I think I read this online.
Decided to try to steal the wrong car.
Wrong car, dude.
Yeah, well, any car is the wrong car to steal, but definitely that one. Researchers in Germany have found that exposure to traffic noise increases the risk of suffering a heart attack. We talked about that.
We did.
We talked about that like 2 weeks ago when that first came out. But that story with the other one we just talked about with these counties that are struggling, maybe we should all be moving to like small towns, and then all of a sudden we don't have to worry about the traffic noise. See?
But if everybody moves to the small towns, then the traffic noise will be there.
Yeah, I suppose that's true as well.
So, it's catch-22.
Yeah, very, very true. Hey, a British woman who suffered unexplained abdominal pain for months is feeling better after doctors removed, are you ready for this? A 14-pound hairball from her stomach.
Gross.
23-year-old Sophie Cox has been eating her own hair for 7 years. They pulled out a 14-pound hairball, and hey, I'm feeling way better now.
Why is she eating
I
her
don't
hair?
know. Do you think I would have an answer to that? And our final story here. The victim told the court in Salzburg, Austria, that she had not come across such a well-mannered criminal in a long time. A man grabbed an old woman's bag and ran off, but then he returned when he noticed that she had fallen to the ground. We've had other stories like this. There was one where a guy was stealing the lady's car. This is a handbag. He said, the lady said, when he saw me fall, he came back. Criminals just don't do that anymore. She went on to say, he was very neat and well-mannered and asked me not to report him. He said he was really sorry, but he was just desperate for money. Nevertheless, the 27-year-old polite punk got 2.5 years. So there you go. At least he was nice, which, you got that going for you, which is good. Coming up, we've got some special things we're going to chat about, and I've got a guest, Dr. Peter Ward, going to talk about climate change on the way. Whether you're following the election or not, you understand that it impacts you. And this will be a historic election. The mainstream media has their own spin on who's going to win, but PoliticalStorm.com lets you chime in. You can keep yelling at the TV if you want. See how that works out. Or truly voice your opinion and have it heard at PoliticalStorm.com. Be informed from several different sources all in one place. Watch videos, listen to podcasts like mine, and read fun editorials to engage your brain. You have a choice, and now you have a voice, too, at PoliticalStorm.com. That's PoliticalStorm.com. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. Many folks have been saying, boy, it sure seems like it's been warm lately. Well, it has been. As a matter of fact, we've been having some record temperatures, and we're going to be talking a little bit about climate change. Now, usually, when you say the words climate change, people sometimes get a little snarly and upset. Well, we're going to be visiting with an expert on climate change today. We've got Dr. Peter Ward. He's worked in this industry for a long, long time, and he's got a new book out called What Really Causes Global Warming, Greenhouse Gases or Ozone Depletion. First of all, let's say hello to Dr. Ward. How are you today, sir?
John, I'm good.
I'm not sure what it is about human nature, but we always like to talk about the weather. And lately, you keep hearing people say, sure has been warm lately, hasn't it? And you and I were just talking ahead of time. You said June was the hottest June on record. Is that right?
Yes, there was a release came out just recently saying it also marks the 14th consecutive month of record-breaking heat.
Wow. So it's not just in my head. It has been warm then, hasn't it?
It has, and it's worldwide.
And we're on track right now for 2016 to be the hottest year on record as well.
Yes,
Now, temperatures are higher all over the place. I see that even like in Alaska, 10 degrees warmer than usual. So you think about 10 degrees, that doesn't sound like a lot, but that is quite a bit. It makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does. And the amount of ice in the Arctic Ocean this summer is an all-time low again. So, when we talk world temperatures, averages, a degree is a lot. But in many areas, it is 10 degrees, 5 or 10 degrees.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your background, because you've been working in this field for quite some time, and you're quite the authority on climate change. And I'd like to just kind of learn a little bit more about what you've been doing for the last 27 years or so.
Well, I worked 27 years for the United States Geological Survey, working primarily on volcanoes, earthquakes, and other natural hazards. And then I retired. And about 10 years ago, I came across an enigma, something that just did not make sense. I found in the ice cores in Greenland records that at the end of the last ice age, the greatest volcanism we've seen for tens of thousands of years was exactly at the time we warmed out of the last ice age. Huh. And this didn't make sense because all climatologists and volcanologists know that big explosive volcanoes like Mount Pinatubo in 1991 cause cooling of the Earth. And so I said, how can volcanoes cause both cooling and warming? And the more I looked at the data, the better the data looked. So I basically decided to put all of my effort, and being retired, that means all of my effort, into understanding the science for the last 10 years. And what's interesting is that certain kinds of volcanoes do cause warming, and the current high temperatures seem to be related to the eruption of the volcano Barðabunga in Iceland a couple of years ago. Barðabunga emitted 33 square miles of basaltic lava like you see in Hawaii in 6 months, the highest rate of lava production since 1783. And this type of lava production is associated throughout geologic time with warming. So I believe that the major warming we're dealing with right now, which is very rapid compared to what's been happening over the last several decades, that goes back to Barðabunga volcano.
Again, our guest today is Dr. Peter L. Ward, and he has a new book out called What Really Causes Global Warming? Greenhouse Gases or Ozone Depletion. Dr. Ward, how long did it take to put this book together?
Well, it's taken me 10 years to do the research. About a year and a half ago, I wrote a major website to provide all the information for scientists who would begin to look at this new approach. And so then writing the book was just one step beyond that. But I have the website, whyclimatechanges.com. Gives great detail. The book is accessible there or through Amazon or any other book dealer. But much of that material is available on the website and is written in a way that people who are non-specialists can understand it.
Now, whether it's right or wrong, climate change has become a very political issue as well. And you say the words climate change, and some people will start to snarl and get very upset. With the information that you're talking about, it seems to me as though we, the people, are far less significant in the problem than maybe some people are saying. So as this new information has come to light, what is it like and how well received is this information by the people who are making a big case that it has to do with you and the car that you drive, and that's what's causing global warming? How is this information being perceived by them?
Well, for 150 years, most scientists working in this area are convinced that greenhouse gases are the cause of global warming. And they're not much interested in listening to what I'm saying. I'm having a very hard time getting them to think seriously, to step back and look at the data and think seriously about what's going on. I understand the basis for why they think greenhouse gases are the cause, but it turns out there was a fundamental mistake made about 150 years ago, an assumption made about how we calculate energy, how we calculate thermal energy in the atmosphere. And understanding now the way we should calculate energy, it appears that greenhouse gases cannot be the cause of global warming. And yet we're preparing now worldwide to spend over $1 trillion to reduce greenhouse gases. And unfortunately, that'll be wasted and it'll cost thousands of dollars out of your pocket and mine and everybody else's.
Again, when we go back to politics, politically, they said the answer to global warming is carbon credits. Well, so with the research that you've uncovered and what you've done, kind of sounds to me like maybe that's not necessarily the answer. Carbon credits kind of sounds like it might be a bit of a waste of time.
Well, the way to treat greenhouse gases is to make the use of fossil fuels more expensive so that we use less fossil fuels. And the carbon credits are basically one of the approaches to do that. But what I'm saying now is the greenhouse gases are not the cause of global warming, have not been the cause of global warming, and reducing greenhouse gases will simply not solve the global warming problem.
Again, our guest today is Dr. Peter L. Ward. Now, Dr. Ward, I don't know if you pay attention to politics at all or if you're political, but one of the things that I will tell you is I've been paying attention to politics, and I've been paying attention very closely to this election for our next president. And we have one candidate that is saying we need to close down the coal mines, and we've got another candidate that's saying we need to dig more coal. Now, there are some people that agree with one. There are some people that agree with the other. But with the information that you're putting forth here, the reason that people are saying close the coal mines is they say that's what's causing global warming. You're saying, no, it's volcanoes. So with this information, it doesn't make a lot of sense to close down the coal mines, does it?
Well, I've spent a fair amount of time in the last year on Capitol Hill talking to both sides, trying to convince people that there's something important here. I mean, already we are closing down coal mines, and yet coal mines are not the responsible for global warming. Coal is our ultimate source of fossil fuel. It's going to last a lot longer than any other fossil fuel out there. And we're going to depend on it in the future. And the greatest supplies of coal are in North America. And the greatest supplies in North America are basically in Wyoming and this area. So coal will be a major part of our future, but at the moment, because the belief of greenhouse gases is a problem, we're causing irreparable damage to the development of coal.
Again, our guest today, Dr. Peter L. Ward. Dr. Ward, again, the book is available right now, What Really Causes Global Warming, Greenhouse Gases or Ozone Depletion. What is the website, once again, that you were telling me about?
WhyClimateChanges.com.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. And also thank you for putting your heart and soul into working on this, because I know that this is something that right now there's a lot of people, sadly, for political reasons, that are pushing agendas that don't make a whole lot of sense if they know all of the answers. I remember when there was a movie that came out, The Inconvenient Truth. Have you seen that movie at all?
Oh, yes.
And how much of that movie was based on fact and how much of that was based on opinion?
That movie was based on scientific understanding at the time it was put together. And it was a sincere effort to communicate the science to the public. But the really inconvenient truth is what I've discovered, and that is that greenhouse gases are not the cause, despite the fact that the vast majority of scientists right now will tell you that greenhouse gases are the cause of global warming.
And even with the new information being out, there are people that are conveniently trying to just pretend like this information's not out, and they're still trying to say that we humans are to blame.
Well, it's a part of human nature that when you've worked all your lifetime and written lots of papers and other things discussing one point of view, it's very hard for you to change your point of view. And what I'm causing right now is a fairly major revolution in science, and those don't come about easily. A lot of sincere people have worked very, very hard to try to understand climate. Unfortunately, we're misunderstanding some of the key science, and there are new data now to show that we need to look at very carefully. You know, science is never settled. We never really completely understand everything. And it turns out in this case, we've made a mistake, and we need to step up to the plate and deal with it. 2016
could be the hottest year on record if things keep up. We've got this heat wave kind of sweeping the nation, and not just the nation, but the world. So do you kind of have some tips on what people should maybe be doing? I know I can't really control volcanoes, so that's kind of out of the question. But what can I do as just a regular person to maybe make it through the heat wave okay, and also help those that I love that are around me?
Well, to deal with the heat wave, it's very important, one, to have plenty of water, plenty of hydration. Secondly, don't do really major physical exertion in the middle of the day and in hot areas. You need to control the heat, and that's something you personally can deal with as to how much energy you expend when and where you do it. It's very important that we recognize that not only is it hotter, but there's also the sun is more dangerous now. It is there's more ultraviolet B reaching the Earth now than there was 20, 30 years ago, and that's what causes sunburn and skin cancer. So cover up, but keep cool, and drink lots of water. And also raise the question with others. Say, do we really understand climate change?
Yeah.
There appears to be a major misunderstanding here, and let's talk about it.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us about it, and thank you for caring enough to pass along the information. And it's interesting because, like I said earlier in the program, usually when the words climate change come up, people get a little bit feisty, and I kind of think part of the problem is we've had one side telling us this is the way it's going to be, and you just have to believe it. We've had that for quite some time, and there are people that would ask a question, and they'd say, you know, I just don't understand, then how did global warming happen before we were driving these cars? And there just really wasn't an answer, and you kind of get shot down. So I appreciate that you've got this information out, and hopefully this will help people have a better conversation and maybe even get rid of some of the arguments from both sides.
I mean, I see both sides as being relatively sincere. I mean, they're looking after what they understand, what they think is correct. The problem is right now the science is not correct. And it's very important that good science help enlighten public policy.
Well, I appreciate you putting the time and effort into all of the studies that you've done on this, and it really answers some questions for me. There were things that were just not quite adding up with the theories that they had before, that global warming was man-made, because we weren't around the last time they had global warming, and the dinosaurs weren't driving cars, so it just never really made a whole lot of sense to me before. But now, with your theory and the information that you've uncovered, it just makes a whole lot more sense to me. For whatever reason, the other stuff just never really seemed to add up.
Yeah, if you look, I mean, I'm a geoscientist, and I know Earth history pretty well. And as you look back in Earth history, the evidence for greenhouse gases causing the warming is very poor. And you know, it's never been shown experimentally that if you increase the greenhouse gases, you actually cause the air to get warmer. Never been shown experimentally. It's unbelievable that it could be so important now, and yet that basic fundamental science has never been done.
Why is it that so many scientists jumped on that bandwagon? I remember back when Al Gore came out with the movie Inconvenient Truth. I suppose it's been about a decade ago now. I remember reading stories about scientists who disagreed with these theories, and they were shunned by the scientific community and discredited as much as they could be. Why is it that so many people got on board with that theory if the evidence is just not there?
Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was formed by the United Nations in 1988, and the purpose of that group was to show that there was consensus among the scientists that greenhouse gases were the cause of global warming. And they've written tens of thousands of pages of reports over the last 30 years, 28 years or whatever, and they have shown again and again that the current scientific thinking shows that greenhouse gases are the cause. What's wrong is a fundamental assumption they made in the mathematics and the physics. And so the models that you hear so much about, the computer models, are simply wrong. But they don't understand that, and they won't accept that right now. I mean, in many ways, I'm a lone wolf crying in the wilderness, and I'm trying to get through. I've sent personal email to over 2,000 scientists saying, look, we got a problem here. We've got to stand up to it. It's important that the scientists solve this problem, that it not be a political football. But so far, I've only got a handful of scientists who are at least even talking to me politely.
So when it comes to politics, since global warming has now become such a political issue, I know you mentioned you had been out on Capitol Hill. Are the politicians taking you seriously now that you've got this evidence? Are they listening? Are they interested?
The Republican side is very much interested. They're still not quite sure how much to trust me, but they're beginning to understand better. The Democratic side is convinced they're right. They're convinced that there are thousands of scientists that say this is the way it is. And as a lead scientist said to me recently, you know, Peter, there's just no way that you could be correct and all the rest of us could be wrong. Well, unfortunately, there is.
Yeah.
And he's actually beginning to regret that statement.
Well, here's a quick example on that. For thousands of years, they said it was impossible for man to fly until about 100 years ago, just a little over 100 years ago. A couple of bicycle mechanics from Ohio went out to North Carolina, and they had the first successful manned flight at Kitty Hawk, and all of a sudden the impossible became possible. And nowadays we have airplanes that weigh more than buildings, and they're flying through the air. It's possible now, but at one point, everybody on this planet would have looked you in the eye and said, that is impossible. But now it happens every day.
Gandhi put it very succinctly when he basically said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win.
Yeah.
And that's human nature.
Well, I'm looking forward to the time when you get to that third one where you win. Thank you again for doing all that you're doing, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Again, our guest has been Dr. Peter Ward. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, John, and keep cool.
I'll do what I can. Again, Dr. Ward's book is called What Really Causes Global Warming, Greenhouse Gases or Ozone Depletion. It's available right now at Amazon. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday.
John and Heidi.
This is Richard Lustig, the world's first and only 7-time lottery game grand prize winner. Since I endorsed Lottolicious, I have won something every single draw. They do all the work. You don't have to worry about running to the store to buy your tickets. They take care of all that. So if you're looking for the best way to play the lottery, to give yourself the best chance of winning, go to RadioLottoPool.com and join today. Again, that website is RadioLottoPool.com.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Celebrity talk show host Oprah Winfrey was supposed to be Orpah Winfrey.
Oh, my dad could probably say that.
Yeah, he probably could. He can't say Oprah. He says
can't say
Oprah.
Oprah.
Her name was written down wrong on the birth certificate, so her name was supposed to be Orpah, O-R-P-A-H. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
9 out of 10 people use the word shy to describe themselves. How would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as shy.
Yeah, I would not.
I would.
Yeah, you're kind of shy. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The animated film Thumbelina is not a Walt Disney production. A lot of people think it is, but it's not.
Oh.
And our final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
The band Led Zeppelin changed the spelling of their name. It used to be L-E-A-D, like lead. Led Zeppelin. You know why they changed it to just L-E-D?
Why?
Because they had dumb radio announcers pronouncing it wrong. Coming up now, we've got Lead Zeppelin.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're not Lead Zeppelin. The whole point of their band was when they kind of had a new sound.
Right.
And when they were putting this band together, people were saying, I just don't think it's going to work. And one of their friends said it's going to go over like a Led Zeppelin. You know, like a lead balloon. It's gonna.
Right.
This is going to fly like a Led Zeppelin, saying it's not going to take off.
Right.
They thought it was funny, so they named their band that. Well, they changed the name to Led, L-E-D, so people would say it right. So there you go. Thanks for listening to our fun fact on a Friday.
John and Heidi.
Email marketing is affordable and a proven way to grow your business if it's done right. You can stay in contact with your customers to let them know when you have new things to offer. You stay in control the whole time, too. You decide when messages are sent, and you decide what is being said, so you're constantly in control of your business image. You can do this, but don't try it on your own. Team up with one of the biggest names in email marketing, Constant Contact. Sign up for a free trial right now at radiosavings.com. Sign up now at radiosavings.com.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. What your looks say about your health. This is from MSN.com. It says good health often is reflected in attractive, youthful appearances, so you might be tempted to blame aging and stress for facial lines and unsightly fingernails and hair loss, when in fact these flaws can signal underlying health issues, Heidi. Like if you have wrinkles, I'm starting to get a lot of those.
Yeah.
Way more than you, by the way. Even though you're older than me, and I like to point that out. Wrinkles are inevitable, but they may be a sign of osteoporosis. The worse the wrinkling,
really?
the greater the risk of lower bone density. Most wrinkles are the result of aging, but excessive exposure to cigarette smoke or the sun can actually speed up the process of wrinkling, Heidi. Maybe I should wear sunscreen. How about swollen feet? If your shoes are too snug, many conditions could be things like sprains and strains and injuries and infections. They all cause feet to swell up. Pregnancy also does. Also, obesity and certain medications can cause fluid retention in the lower extremities. and so can heart disease. So if your foot skis are getting too fat ski, maybe there's a problem ski. Hey, pitted nails. You ever have that?
I don't know what pitted nails
It's where your
are.
nails maybe have little spots in them, little dots and dips and dimples and stuff. It says if you avoid the manicurist because your nails are maybe a bit of a mess, maybe you should not see the manicurist, but you should see a doctor. Nails that are pitted and deformed and discolored, like yellow and brown, can be a sign of other problems. So they're saying, hey, don't just say, they're fine. Maybe check into that. Large hands and feet. If your feet or your hands are getting larger, it says that could actually be a sign of acromegalia. It's a hormonal disorder that occurs when adults have pituitary glands that make too much growth hormone. So I think my hands are normal size. I'm not saying I have to compare to somebody else now. Put your hand over here, Heidi. How about bad breath? That could be more than just somebody that has bad hygiene. That could actually be somebody who has heart disease. Yeah. That could be a sign of heart disease. And there's a lot of other things it could be as well. I'm going to try to read the rest of these quick. Hair loss, cracked lips, facial flush, moles, and yellow eyes. I've got the list. I'll throw all of these because I don't have time to read them all. I'll throw them all on our Facebook page if you want to read more. Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
If you're in business, you need a website. Come on, it's 2016. Do you think this internet thing is not going to catch on? Many business owners that don't have a website think it's just too expensive. Well, now it's not. You can get a website for a few $100s, not thousands of dollars that are charged elsewhere. We can help you set up and design the site and then turn you loose to manage it, or we can help you manage the site for just a tiny bit more. Learn about the special radio offer right now at radiosavings.com. Get an extra $50 off if you sign up this month at radiosavings.com.
Generosity is a great thing, but not if you're giving away something that doesn't belong to you.
Well,
Our second story of the day, and this is from our second story from McDonald's, because we had one where there was a drunk man sleeping off his hangover in a drive-thru and got arrested. This one is a worker at McDonald's, and there was a beggar asking for free food, and a 22-year-old Frenchman, Remy Millet, did exactly what the beggar was asking for and gave away 5 cheeseburgers to a woman who was starving. Upset beyond comprehension, he's been let go. And
I'm
now
sure
he's suing.
he would have paid
His
for
manager
it.
claims that he was fired for giving away burgers time and time again and giving away many of them to people who were not even beggars. Co-workers agree and testified against Millet in court, saying he just gave away food. He loved giving stuff away.
Yeah.
So it's not yours to give away, Remy.
Right.
I'm sorry. And if they have a policy against that, you need to adhere to the policy.
Right.
Now, if you want to buy some burgers and give them away, I do
absolutely
that.
do that all day long.
I've done
Go
that
ahead.
many times, and you can certainly do that. And you can't get in trouble for it either, because now you do own it. All right, coming up, we've got a different kind of drive-through we're going to talk about. That's on the way.
John and Heidi.
We've had a couple of stories about drive-thrus today, but this is a different kind of drive-through. Take a drive-through and take the morning of a death, and you add those together, and you get one interesting business. G.W. Thompson is the owner of Chapel of Remembrance, and this is in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He's come up with a new concept to help folks during their difficult time of grieving for a lost loved one. He created a funeral home with a drive-through window. Mourners can pay their final respects without even getting out of their cars. It's like a
We've talked about
window
this
at a
before.
bank.
It's just sick.
Instead of going to see a teller, you see the person
that's
popped
just
up.
sick.
It doesn't seem like a good idea to me.
And if you don't care enough about the person to
Get out of
your
your car?
lazy butt out of your
Yeah.
car and go in and pay some respects decently, then don't even bother going.
Maybe next they could just do it where I don't even go see you. I just click a button and I can look
I can
at
watch
you on
online.
a webcam.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, he looks good.
That's
All
a
right.
very bad idea.
Well, that's all
very
we need.
disrespectful.
Now let's get back to Facebook.
So
I just
horrible.
don't understand that.
There's probably a night deposit box for your sympathy cards.
Well, hopefully for the sympathy cards and not for their next customer. Slide them into that would be bad too. All right, coming up, we've got more on the way on a Friday edition of the John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Whether you're following the election or not, you understand that it impacts you, and this will be a historic election. The mainstream media has their own spin on who's going to win, but PoliticalStorm.com lets you chime in. You can keep yelling at the TV if you want, see how that works out, or truly voice your opinion and have it heard at PoliticalStorm.com. Be informed from several different sources all in one place. Watch videos, listen to podcasts like mine, and read fun editorials to engage your brain. You have a choice, and now you have a voice too at PoliticalStorm.com. That's PoliticalStorm.com. Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Friday. Want to stay away from germs during your next hotel stay? It's
impossible.
If you don't want to hear about germs in the hotel room, just maybe turn the volume down for the next 90 seconds. It says, if you want to stay away from the germs, don't turn on the TV. Do not turn on the lights. New research shows that television remotes and light switches are amongst the most contaminated items in a hotel room.
Don't lay on top of the comforter.
The highest level of contamination was found in the maid's cleaning cart, specifically on the mop and the sponge. Now, that's a problem because it meant that bacteria is being carried from room to room. According to the researchers, they say cross-contamination could be reduced by replacing cleaning liquids during housekeeping shifts. They say the lowest levels of bacteria, believe it or not, were on the headboards, the curtain rods, and the bathroom door handle.
Well, I suppose you probably, if you're the only one in a room, you leave the bathroom door open so you're not touching the door handle.
Yeah, that could be.
That makes sense.
Or maybe because people
and
just
touching
wash
the
their
curtain
hands.
rods.
That's one that I'm like, oh, golly gee, so I can touch the curtain rods? Thank you. At least I have somewhere to hang out.
We also checked above the ceiling fan. That seemed to be fine as well.
Behind the photos was okay. What? I don't even understand why they needed to do this, but I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. I'm not as bad as Heidi makes me sound.
Not terrible.
You try to make it sound like I'm...
You can be quite a pansy.
I have met listeners who, when I shook their hand, they're like, oh, I can't believe you shook my hand. I'm like, why? Well, I thought you were a germaphobe. I'm like, I'm not that bad. You make it sound like I won't. I don't live in a bubble.
You around with a package of wet
No,
wipes.
I'm not Monk. I'm not that. For those of you who saw the show, I loved the show. I have some Monk-like qualities. I'm not Monk. Anyway, I think, that's that story. I don't think I'm going to be staying in hotels anymore. But I will shake your hand.
I like to stay in hotels, but I am not a germaphobe. I'm very much aware when I go in, there's other people's DNA all over everything.
It's not good. So, coming up, we have some good news. That is on the way on the John and Heidi Show. This portion of the John and Heidi Show is brought to you by the John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying the John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always try to wrap things up around here with some good news, and I've got some good news for you here. A Black Lives Matter demonstration was planned for last weekend in Wichita, Kansas, but it became a friendly cookout instead. Law enforcement officers sought to bridge the gap between the police and the community. According to Time, the idea of a cookout came after an activist named A.J. Bohannon and other organizers with Black Lives Matter met with Wichita Police Chief Gordon Ramsay, and they suggested the cookout as a way for open communication and to build trust between the groups. The event, called the First Steps Community Cookout, became even more meaningful after the news of what happened in Baton Rouge broke out the same weekend. So this is maybe from 2 weeks ago, it sounds like. This happened in Wichita. Photos and videos of the event were posted to the Wichita Police Department's Twitter account, showing officers in uniform posing with families, dancing with kids, and singing with locals. I've got the entire story on our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show, if you'd like to check that out. Heidi and I actually went to a Unity in the Community event, which was police officers and community organizers that did something similar to this. Now, there wasn't a cookout. There was bottled water, and it was really, really hot when we were there, so I'm glad they had the water, because we got to cool off with that. But it was really neat, and it was fun to be a part of that.
I'd like to see more of those all across the country.
Yeah, we just decided, we heard that it was going on. We said, let's go to that. And it was neat because we had people coming over saying, hey, we listened to you on the radio.
The only way this country is going to survive is if we all come together as one. We have to unify instead of being torn apart.
And I thought it was kind of interesting because they kept saying you can't spell community without unity. And here's the thing. You can't spell unity without you and I. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
You and I.
You're so deep.
We need to unite.
Amazing.
Exactly. I thought of that after the rally. Otherwise, I'd have started my own chant. You and I. Unity. I don't know. I didn't have a good chant. That was my problem. All right. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to The John and Heidi Show.